Manager Marty here, back with another video. Now, at this point, I've done several videos analyzing Terence Bud Crawford's interviews. And I was going to leave it alone when he did that interview on the Zone with, I think that was Ak and Barack, or Ak and Barack. I hope I'm pronouncing their names correctly. Well, they represent the Zone, and they did an interview with Bud Crawford, I think like a few days ago, and they posted it last week, or they did it last week and they posted it a few days ago. Bottom line is, it was a recent interview before yesterday, and I was going to leave it alone. I wasn't going to say anything about it. In fact, I didn't say anything about it. Didn't post anything about it. I try to let it go. But this interview right here, this interview right here, I had to say something about it. And at this point, if you are a subscriber to this channel, you realize that I do analysis and breakdowns of interviews, particularly Terence Bud Crawford's. And this is not an exception to the rule. Terence Bud Crawford was asked a question about his legacy. And then he was asked some questions about signature wins with regards to his legacy. And let's hear what he said was his signature wins that basically solidified his legacy for the duration of his career. And then we're going to come back and analyze what he said. Roll the tape.
So I think what people often look for is a signature win. Do you feel like you have a signature win?
I got multiple signatures of wins.
Which ones are they for you?
When you look at it, Ricky Burns was a signature win.
Okay.
When you look at it, Gamboa was a signature win. Postal was a signature win. And Dongo.
Sean Porter.
Not Sean Porter.
You wouldn't include Sean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeff Horn was a signature win. You know, Kell Brooks.
Okay, that's a lot of signature wins.
Yeah, they all signature wins. You know what I mean? Because when you look at it, them all champions. And some of them is champions in multiple divisions. You know, so when you look at what they did in the sport of boxing, then you look at it like, man, look at all the things that they accomplished in the sport of boxing, and then how I beat them. That's a signature win in my eyes.
Okay, so I didn't want to make this into a comparison with you and Errol, but you kind of did, right? So if you're going to pick Errol's signature wins, which one would you pick?
Errol's signature wins, I would say Kell Brook, Sean Porter. You're going to put Mikey Garcia and Danny Garcia and Ugas. Pretty much.
So basically those more recent fights.
Even though Danny Garcia never won a significant fight at 147, he didn't beat nobody. He lost to everybody. Even though Mikey Garcia never fought in the division before, even though Ugas has been beaten numerous times, Tom Porter had already been beaten. Kell Brook had already been.
You're just trying to take away all those significant wins. You're taking it back.
I'm stating facts.
Okay. So let's process everything that Terence Bud Crawford just said, okay? Terence Bud Crawford just said that his signature wins, he said a lot of different boxers, but we're just going to stick with the boxers that he named from the 147-pound division, the welterweight division. He said his signature wins are Kell Brook, Amir Khan, Sean Porter. That's what he said. Y'all just heard him. He also said, them, and I quote, them all champions. Some of them are champions in multiple divisions or multiple weight classes. Okay? End quote. Now, because he made a comparison of his legacy earlier in the interview, the interviewer, she asked him, well, since you made a comparison to your legacy and Errol Spence's, and I didn't have to ask you about it, what are Errol Spence's signature wins? Y'all heard what Bud just said, right? Y'all heard what Crawford just said. This is what he said. He said Kell Brook, Sean Porter, Mikey Garcia, Danny Garcia, and Ugas. And then he throws a shot at Danny Garcia. and I quote him saying, Danny Garcia never won a significant fight at 147. He didn't beat nobody. He lost to everybody. Mikey Garcia fought in the division basically for the first time when he fought Spence. He said Ugas has been beaten multiple times, and then he says Sean Porter also has been beaten. And then the interviewer, she said, well, wait a minute. You gave Spence credit, basically in essence what she was saying. You gave Spence credit for signature wins, and now you're trying to take them back. You're trying to basically dismantle Errol Spence's legacy by saying that some of the fights that he won in the welterweight division are not credible fights because his opponents had been beaten already before they fought him, and or that one of the fighters basically fought at the weight class for the first time. I just want to point something out because some people in my comment sections on previous videos have stated that I have somehow been spreading false narratives about Terence Crawford, when all I've been doing is using Terence Bud Crawford's words against his own self to illustrate the point that I've been saying on YSM Media back in August and my first interviews with YSM Media about who's stalling the negotiations and why this fight was not going to happen. And basically, we see Terence Bud Crawford proving my point back then, and he's still doing it now because he keep running his mouth. So now let's break this down. All of Bud's aforementioned signature wins, they were beaten before he even fought them. Okay, let's take Amir Khan. That was a signature win that Bud Crawford gave himself credit for, right? Well, don't forget that there was one man that Bud Crawford just criticized, and Danny Garcia, who actually defeated Amir Khan and beat him for a world title when he was the major underdog, and he took care of business, and he beat Amir Khan, okay? Okay, there was another fighter that was mentioned. It was Kell Brook, and Sean Porter as signature wins that Bud Crawford gave himself credit for, but let's be clear, you know that Kell Brook lost to Errol Spence before Kell Brook even fought Bud Crawford. And let the record reflect also that Sean Porter lost to Errol Spence before Sean Porter fought Bud Crawford. You see my point? And so also, one more thing. Let me say this because this is important too. The guy Ugas, who he said, oh man, Ugas, he already was beaten multiple times already. Okay, but Ugas is the same guy who fought a fighter, a future Hall of Famer, in Manny Pacquiao, who Bud Crawford wanted to fight so bad. Bud Crawford wanted to fight Manny Pacquiao so bad. And guess what? Ugas fought him, beat him, and became the WBA welterweight champion of the world. And let me say this in Danny Garcia's defense. Danny Garcia was also a multi-division or multiple division champion, or he's a champion in 2 different weight classes. The same accolades that Bud has given himself credit for being a champion in 3 weight classes, while Danny Garcia was a champion in 2 weight classes. So how can you sit up here and throw a shot at Danny Garcia? How can you throw a shot at Mikey Garcia? How can you throw a shot at Sean Porter, Ugas, and Kell Brook, and even Amir Khan, when in fact all of them had losses on their record before Bud even fought them? Please, I want you to comment in the comment section below, because I know that I am long-winded when I talk sometimes, and I know that I can go, the long way to illustrate a point. I know that I use paraphrases, metaphors, and soliloquies, but I make sense when I talk. I would like to think that I'm very simple when I'm proving a point, and this makes too much sense to me. But I would love for you to put your comments in the comment section below and tell me what your feedback is with regards to the things that you just heard Bud Crawford say.